Last week, Bungie published a new This Week at Bungie blog post in which they detailed some upcoming changes that might have significant bearing on the PvP sandbox. They told us about, and get ready for the list, shotgun changes, fusion rifle changes, aim assist changes, SMG fall off and zoom changes, lightweight pulse rifle changes, in-air accuracy changes, flinch changes, and more. But apparently, Bungie got enough comments about the lack of a sidearm buff that they felt compelled to make a statement on it. And in the TWAB last week, they said this: sidearms are a niche pick, but when used by players who favor them, they're extremely strong. We want to see how the reduction in effective range of shotguns and fusion rifles affects their strength before making any changes, and may look at them in a future season. So basically they said, we're kind of scared to buff sidearms preemptively just in case they become too strong with a buff, compounding with the nerfs to the things that counter them. Outside of the buff sidearms got last season, which was really just fixing a bug in their hit scan, sidearms have been the most consistently unbuffed primary weapon type in the game. Hand cannons. Hand cannons have undergone change after change after change, including even scrapping an entire archetype altogether. Pulse rifles have had numerous buffs and nerfs to individual weapons, archetype families, and more. All primary weapon types have been through a roller coaster of changes, save for sidearms. There's almost never a patch that touches sidearms. And you know what? That's perfectly fine by me. And the fact that Bungie isn't buffing them in this meaty update in a couple of weeks is likewise fine by me. A lot of people complain about sidearms, not them being used, but how it feels to use them, right? People have trouble making them work in duels with shotguns and fusions and SMGs. Many people say that they struggle to hit anything. If you look at the trends in competitive environments like Trials of Osiris, for example, sidearms have very little representation, and there's never a sidearm in the top 10 weapons save for 2 weeks where the Forerunner was brand new and people were trying it out. But other than that, sidearms don't crack the top 10 weapons used ever. This week on Altar of Flame, for example, hand cannons are on top, and they're responsible for 17% of all kills in Trials matches, followed by pulse rifles close behind at 16% of all kills. Shotguns are in third place with 11%, snipers at 9%, fusion rifles 8%, SMGs 6%, scout rifles 6%, with almost all of those being DMT. Bows are responsible for 3% of all kills, auto rifles 2%, linear fusions 2%, and then finally, after all of that, sidearms down at 1.8% of all kills are sidearms. So to put all of that into perspective, think of it this way. There's one sidearm kill in Trials for every 10 hand cannon kills this week. And you might assume, you know what, hey, well, that's just because it's Altar of Flame, which is a long range map. You might assume that on a smaller map, this would be different, but you would be wrong. On Dead Cliffs last week, sidearms were responsible for 1.3% of the kills, with one sidearm kill for every 16 hand cannon kills, and an almost identical spread the week before on Exodus Blue. All this to say, as it stands currently, sidearms have abysmal representation in PvP, especially in playlists where winning matters. Even in quick play, there isn't, get this, there isn't a single sidearm in the top 50 weapons being used right now in quick play. You have to scroll all the way down to number 78 to find a sidearm. And guess what? Even that one, it's Forerunner, which isn't even actually a sidearm. It's like a hand cannon with a scope on it. It's not actually a sidearm. It's the only sidearm actually among the top 100 weapons being used right now, and it's not even a sidearm by my standards. That's pretty crazy. All other primary types have exceptional representation there in quick play among the top 100 weapons being used. There's 11 SMGs in that top 100 list. And SMGs are the most logical primary alternative to a sidearm. There's 11 of them. There are 16 hand cannons in the top 100, 11 pulse rifles, 6 auto rifles. Heck, there are even 5 scout rifles. But other than the Forerunner, there isn't a single genuine sidearm on that list, even though we got a couple of brand new sidearms this season. Isn't that kind of crazy? There isn't a single sidearm that is good enough by most folks' standards to make the cut among the top 100 weapons being used in PvP right now. I find that to be pretty staggering. So, in defense of the people who raised the question of why aren't sidearms getting buffed, it certainly does seem on paper that sidearms are underperforming basically everything else in the PvP sandbox. So I understand where those people are coming from. But to circle back to Bungie's statement on the matter, I think they are absolutely right though. Sidearms, they are a niche choice. When they have to compete with the instant gratification of slug shotguns, pellet shotguns, a fusion rifle that can map people, right? SMGs with exceptional range and stability, man, it makes sense that they get lost in the sauce. But the reality is that sidearms, I mean, their optimal TTKs are nonetheless right in line with other primaries like SMGs. They just require a little more supplemental skill in order to reach those optimal TTKs. You have to have good trigger control, right? Sidearms, most of them aren't full auto unless you make them that way, right? Most of them aren't full auto like submachine guns are. So you have to have trigger control. You have to have good target tracking. You have to have movement to keep you within the optimal ranges for the sidearm without getting too close to get one shot by a slug shotgun. And you have to be able to change your direction mid-duel in order to juke a fusion shot. The reality is that sidearms are just too demanding on the player to use when compared to other alternatives, but that certainly does not make them bad. And I think Bungie is right to be hesitant about a buff. With the upcoming nerfs to the things that keep sidearms in check, a buff could tip the scales too far and leave sidearms too consistent and oppressive in comparison to their alternatives. I think the best move is to hold off on any sidearm buffs and let them stretch a minute in the new sandbox to see where they land. My guess is you're already going to see an uptick in usage rates next season, especially with the new Trials sidearm coming to the loot pool. People absolutely will take it for a spin. So if you were one of the people disappointed in the lack of a sidearm buff next season, I definitely hear you. I get it. But let's wait it out. Let's see how they perform. Let's go from there. It's better to anticipate imbalance and then keep it in check early than it is to overcorrect and break PvP in a way that makes people frustrated and aggravated. So let me know what you think about the coming sandbox changes. Where do you stand? What will you be using next season when all of these changes drop? So leave a comment down below and consider leaving a like on the video only if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button to to see whenever I post new Destiny content. And feel free to come by the live stream sometimes. I try to live stream at least 4, usually 5 days a week. And we have a good time with it, do a wide variety of activities, whether it's quick play or Trials of Osiris. And then sometimes we check out other stuff. Like anytime there's new Apex Legends content, I even do that. So we'd love to see you come by the live stream. And just know that if you ever wanted to support me financially, Twitch takes a big cut. They take half of your revenue. YouTube doesn't. YouTube gives you a 70-30 split. So if you wanted to become a subscriber like you would on Twitch, if you did it on my YouTube channel to become a supporter, to become a member of the channel, you get the emotes that you can use. But basically what I did is I set it up so that it's only $3 for the viewer to become a member on the base level, as opposed to Twitch's $5 base subscription fee. So I made it cost less for you guys, but I actually get about the same amount of money out of that $3 as I would if I were streaming on Twitch and you subbed for $5. So it costs you less and I get about the same amount. So feel free to look into that as well. Thanks so much for watching the video. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible. Bye-bye.